boy. Good boy. Oh, God, is she phenomenal. Yeah, I like her a lot. I used to do you remember years ago there was from Chicago, it was Fernanda, and I forget the guy's name. She was like a sexy little Mexican girl from like 19 years old. And he was like Jonathan. He was like a 30-year-old like Italian guy from Chicago. Do you remember them?
No.
Yeah, they were actually a really interesting couple.
Yeah, Gino, when he wouldn't take his hat off at dinner with the mother, and poor Jimena or Yasmina having to explain that to her mother, that was very uncomfortable. These, he was another one I just screamed at the TV, and as you said, you can always tell when he's lying, and he's lying all the time. He gets caught in lies constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's bad at it. He's really bad at lying, and she's good at follow-up questions. It's a fun to watch the train wreck. Obviously, there's so much editing, though. Like, you never know what's real, what's bullshit. But some of the stuff is just like that. Mike, I guess, was so unaware of how kind of gross he was. Which could be that he's inexperienced dating, or maybe he's got little personality disorders going on.
Yeah, Steve calls him a troll. He just
he is a bit trollish. Can't help it.
Oh, well.
I also like Michael and Angela. Do you remember Michael and Angela?
Yes.
When they were in Africa and she's buying something, and Michael goes, she's looking for something because she's fat, which I thought was so funny. It's probably my favorite clip.
God. Oh, Angela.
She is fat.
I loved Michael. I thought Michael was hilarious. And we have a friend who's from Nigeria, and she always would come over and talk about Michael and Angela.
Yeah.
And Angela's now she's a celebrity of sorts, and that kind of pisses me off. I saw something where she was getting her teeth fixed, and it's like, why am I watching her at the dentist's office?
Breast implants, fat removal, skin removal, and then the weight reduction surgery, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Angela did all that?
Yeah, she doesn't look bad anymore.
She's still
a redneck, but
she's still Angela.
Yeah, you can't take the Angela.
She's our people. She's not right from around our area, but we know hundreds of people just like Angela. So.
Yeah.
Well, I respect that, because you see some of these people who don't make any effort at all. It's like the woman in this last episode. She's a big lady who lives in a purple house.
Yes.
And she's dating the guy in China, and her mother looks like Don Henley. That woman who's her mom looks just like Don Henley.
But she
won't lose any weight.
She gets a lot of action, though. For her to be as heavy as she is, she slept with 2 people during the show, right?
Well, she does that anime cosplay, too.
She gets lonely, does the cosplay in her front yard. Oh, Lord.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Bit much. It's a bit much.
It's a bit much. Well, all right. Well, listen, man.
I wonder if those two are going to meet up or not. You wonder. This is what a dope I am. After 90 days over, I'll actually follow up by going and Googling shit, and looking at their Instagram and all that stuff.
No, I'm so invested in these people. It's unreal. Are Mike and Angela, are they still together or no?
I don't know, but I do check up on these people. I don't know if they are. I was actually happy that the Ethiopian guy finally got in. I forget, Binyi or something his name is. He got in.
Binyam and Ariel.
I'm always happy. Binyam, I'm always happy when it works out.
Makes me irritated that I know all of this. But yeah.
Because he quit watching it with me. He quit. He doesn't even watch it.
Why?
The more I try to wait, the more they pull me back in.
Yeah, the more you try to leave. But every year, this new one, right? There's a new season just started.
Yes.
And I'm not that into it. It seems a little boring. Before the 90-day is better because, again, I hate to admit that I like a train wreck, but we all do. You're more likely to see shit come off, the wheels come off, because they're not even in America yet. So I think the relationships tend to be newer.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's more fun for me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We shall
goodness
I think
gracious.
so. I think so. I have another medical question.
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
I recently had black mold taken out of my apartment. What are some of the effects that black mold can have on you if you live with it long term?
There's a lot of fear about black mold, and the problem is there's lots of different black molds. There's not just one black mold. Mold only has a few colors that it can make, and many of them are black. And so there's the most common one that I'm aware of is called Stachybotrys chartarum, and there's really no evidence that suggests that it's more dangerous than any other kind of mold. I mean, some people are just sensitive to mold spores because they're allergic to them. And if you are allergic to mold, you're going to develop respiratory symptoms and all that kind of stuff. And some people can, live around it and eat it, and they're totally fine. So you should remove it because it indicates that there's moisture in your house that is damaging your house. You should remove it because there are some people that will be sensitive to it. But in general, it's not a problem. Now, if you have aches and pains, mood changes, headaches, memory loss, and nosebleeds, and things like that, you could have a thing called mycotoxicosis, which is AKA mold poisoning. And again, the real treatment for that is to get the mold out of your house.
Do you
to
feel
do that,
different?
you got to get rid of the moisture.
Do you feel different, Jimmy, having it out?
No, not really. I mean, I just happen to have leaky windows. So after they got repaired, I said, let's bring somebody in and just check. And they did find it in a couple of rooms by the windows because the windows have been leaking for a while. And it didn't go too deep into the room. But they cut out the offending parts and treated it and blah, blah, blah. So, no, I don't feel any different at all.
Okay.
But I was just a little bit nervous about it. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking at a CDC report on that. It says there are very few reports of unique or rare health conditions resulting from mold in the home. So a lot of people, when they see it, they get really, really anxious. And really, just don't get anxious. Just take care of it.
And here's one. My sinuses suck. I use my Navage every day.
Excellent.
And they put like a little, it's distilled water. And, I have to thank the people who did send me something. By the way, your person sent me something,
Okay.
Which I used. So thank you to them. It was somebody who you connected me with. They connected through you.
Yeah.
They sent me a new one, which I still use. So thank you to them. I never emailed them back to say
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll absolutely let them know.
I love my Navage. I use it twice a day, usually in the morning and at night with distilled water. Do those little salt tablets, will they do anything to compromise your sense of smell, or will they prevent your body from doing anything, kind of like if you shoot aspirin every day?
Yeah, no. And as a matter of fact, the reason that they use saline rather than just plain distilled water is because it's more physiologic. If you just did distilled water in there, the body's not used to that. So, if you've ever dived in a pool, you get that burning in there. It's not all just chlorine. It's the fact that the electrolytes are different. And so when you use that saline, he's designed it so that the right amount of water with that saline pod makes it physiologic, so you don't get any sensation whatsoever from the fluid itself going in one nostril and being sucked out the other. And that's what's great about it. And as a matter of fact, that's why you can't use the machine unless you use their saline pods. And people think, oh, well, they're just trying to make money. That is true. But the real reason that those things are there is to make that saline non-irritating to the nose. So no, that should, matter of fact, it should enhance your sense of smell by washing out mucus and things that may be lying over the sensors that sense smell in the top of your nose. So yeah, no, it's good.
Oh, okay. So that's salt tablet. Distilled water is what I'm supposed to be using.
Yes.
What happens if you use tap water in it?
Well, okay.
Which I don't do. I use distilled.
Most tap water is perfectly safe, and Martin Hoke will tell you that. But there have been reports of people using tap water or well water getting brain amoebas through using their neti pods. that they're using instead of using distilled water or water that they boil
Right.
and let cool back down. And brain amoeba suck because we can't get the right antibiotics into the brain to stop them. They just start multiplying, and amoebic encephalitis is almost always fatal, or very often fatal. So you don't want that.
Oh, really?
And you can't get it if you use distilled water.
Crap.
But you can die from using shit tap water?
Yeah, if your water, let's just say that day that got contaminated with amoebas or other organisms, then yeah, you could cause yourself some problems. So that's why they insist that you use distilled water with that. Like I said, most tap water in the United States is perfectly safe, but on the one day that it isn't, if people were using their Navajas improperly and using tap water, then they could have a problem. And it's always local. There's never a nationwide tap water problem. It's always some problem
Right.
in a local processing plant. So that's
Okay, I have one more question before. I know I'm keeping you. I'm sorry. I have one more question.
Dude, we're keeping you. This is awesome. Thank you.
My shits lately have been rather gluey. What can I do to fix that? It's been a real struggle. It's been like shoving a muffin through wicker.
Yeah.
What can I do to fix that?
Okay, my number one thing for gluey, sticky fecal matter is to increase. I don't know why that's fun. It is funny though.
You're so official.
is to use a soluble fiber supplement, but not inulin. And now listen, I was going to call in the other day on Jim and Sam, which, by the way, you guys have really found your voice on that show. I find that show to be immensely entertaining. And so
thank you.
Congratulations on that, because I know it was hard to do given the history and everything that happened in the past. But you and Sam really have good chemistry, and he's a funny guy anyway. But I'm on the road a lot more now than I was, and I listen all the time now, and I'm always constantly text bombing Travis, which drives him crazy. But
no, you should keep doing it.
I am.
Please keep doing it.
I will
He
never
deserves it,
stop.
and it's good that you do it.
I will never stop, particularly since he said something about it on the air the other day. But anyway, I was going to call in the other day and tell you, if you want to really gas them up and guarantee that you'll have flatus for everyone else to enjoy, take a fiber supplement called inulin. And I think it's sold as Benefiber, but it's the one that says,
Benefiber.
that it's completely soluble, that it's clear, right? Well, it uses chicory root. And back in the old days when you guys were going to do a farting contest, that was the thing I was going to supply you with, was tablets of this stuff called inulin, because everyone will pass flatus if they use this stuff. So don't use that for what you and I are talking about, which is increasing the soluble fiber in your diet. And I would use Citracel. Citracel, and if you don't want the sugar, get the sugar-free. And the capsules are more expensive per gram, so just get the powder, and it tastes like Tang. And you just put it in water and drink it, and try to increase your green leafy vegetables. I know you eat pretty well, but gluey, sticky feces is almost always from increased fat and protein in the diet, and increasing the soluble fiber will make it more fluffy and and delightful, when you move your awful bowels. So, and if that doesn't,
awesome. Well, thank you. That's helpful.
If that doesn't work, let me know.
That I'm sure that will. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. My eating part needs a little bit of a change.
Well, okay,
Awesome.
Yeah, maybe, and we could talk about your diet offline sometime if you want to. It's I have some ideas on these things, and also the other thing too. Do you eat yogurt or anything like that?
No, because I don't. It really makes me like.
Yes.
Awful throat clearing thing. It makes it very difficult to.
A lot of people who use their voices for a living can't do dairy at all. So just take a probiotic, and I'll send you a couple of probiotics that I really like for the people who are listening. If you go to drsteve.com and scroll down, the one that I really like is on stuff.drsteve.com, and you just scroll down, you can see it there. It's got 39 billion colonies and all that kind of stuff. And that will help with this too, because you may just have a fecal microbiota problem, where the
Okay.
you've just got some weird colonies growing in your stool. I mean, in your colon.
Yeah, that's possible. Weird colonies in my colon. That's awesome. What a great name for a fucking science fiction book. I'm going to write a book called Weird Colonies in My Colon.
Okay. I'll buy it. All right, man. Hey, let me pause here just for a second, if you don't mind. And I just need to check on something because my fucking computer. Hang on just a second. I just want to let me see if I can hear the word "my fucking computer" here at the end. Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. It just when I go beyond a certain length, things I'll edit that out. Anyway, hey, you got anything else for us, Jim, in the exam room? And we really appreciate you joining us today.
No, this was great. I was happy to do it, and things are really. Things are great here, and I'm happy to talk to you guys.
Yeah. Before we go, how is Manhattan? Is it starting to normalize again, or do we need to wait a little bit longer before we visit?
It's I would say give it a little time. It's a little bit better, but it's still kind of dangerous. And on the subway, there's still people. It's still a little bit frightening on the subways and stuff. Yeah. I would give it a little more time. But if you want to just see strangers flinging shit and throwing bricks at people, I would say now is the perfect time to come. Hey, if you want to run for your lives, now's a great time to come.
Buying our tickets now. I saw Dave Landau, when he was on with Anthony, used to show videos almost every day of people literally having intercourse in the subway station. And none of them looked like they were really enjoying it. But it was happening all the time, and it was, very often one person just bent over and the other person just, giving them a little treat. So it's unbelievable.
Oh, that's lovely. How delightful.
I know. Well, I'm glad that they were able to enjoy themselves. So, all right, man.
Of course.
Well, listen, you got anything to plug?
No, I got gigs coming up. I got, Bridgeport and New Jersey and Pennsylvania, Delaware. If people want to see me, feel free to come out and see me and go to my website for tickets. But no, I'm just happy to talk to you guys.
Yeah, you too, man. It's been too long. We look forward to seeing you, and you're welcome down here anytime. And we'd really love to see you again.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we will soon. I miss you.
Liam is the one that cut all the gases in your car is now in college, making making straight A's, but he still can gas up a room. So we'll make sure that
God bless him.
He takes a ride with you. All right, man. Well, listen, the great Jim Norton, our friend, and thank you so much for being here with us today. It was so much fun, man.
Anytime.
Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, Casey and Steve, thank you guys both, and talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, man. All right.
Bye. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.
What a good feller.
What a good feller. That was awesome.
So half of the live stream didn't stream, but I fixed it while you and Jim were talking about 90 Day Fiancé.
Okay.
So everybody came in the middle of Jimmy and you talking about Mike and Jimena.
Oh, no.
So anyway.
Do we need to do like a real live stream that actually works?
Yes, we're going to do that next.
Okay.
So Sean is here. B-Tex is here. And, I didn't expect that many people to actually show up for the live stream part, but we wanted to offer that if somebody wanted to, hang out and interact with us. Sean Pedrick is probably our number one super fan, and I don't say that in a bad way. I love this guy because he's always there. We can always count on him.
Thank you for being there.
So, yeah, thanks, man. So anyway, you about ready to get out of here for this one? And we're going to end this particular recording and start another show. And then, all right, sounds good. So let's see. We've got our theme music. All right, everyone. Check your stupid nuts for lumps. Quit smoking. Get off your asses and get some exercise. And we'll see you for the next Patreon show.
Thank you
in
for
about
supporting
10 days.
us.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think that was fun.
I am the smart. I am the smart. I am smart. I am smart. SMRT.
Well, you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Can you, like, shut up?
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Give me the respect that I'm entitled to.
Show going to be about?
I don't know. Well, we'll just take questions. We have a bunch of questions.
Okay.
I wish I could have played Cardiff's thing. I finally realized that if I took my headphones and put up there, Jim could sort of hear it. But yeah, that was he won't be happy with me on that one.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll work. That show's going to need a little bit of editing, but that's okay. How nice of Jim to do that.
Very.
He's the best little feller. And it was fun telling the story of the true origin of the show. I always tell the story about, well, let's just record. We'll just record. We'll talk. We'll do a little debriefing on that show, and then we'll take some questions.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's Weird Medicine, the special edition with my wife, partner, and co-host Tacey. Hello, Tacey.
Hello, Steve.
You look quite delightful today.
No, I don't. Thank you.
We are not your medical providers. Take anything you hear on the show with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything we say without discussing it with your healthcare provider. These shows will never be free and are for our Patreon subscribers only. They're ad-free only except for the occasional plug, and we want to be interactive. So give us a call at 347-766-4323 and say Patreon, or send us your questions in MP3 file, M4A file, or whatever your phone will generate, and send it to drsteve202@gmail.com. That's drsteve202@gmail.com. And thank you for your support. All right. So last show we had Mr. James Norton, Tacey.
That was awesome.
That was loads of fun. And we got to tell the story of the actual origin of the show, because I always tell the story about the first show that we did, but we never talk about going back way before that when and Jimmy, it's hilarious, he didn't remember it. Of course he didn't. You know, he does a million shows between that time and now. Why would he remember that?
I remember it because I was driving on the road and heard it. And I had no idea.
Oh, is that right?
That you had called in at all.
That's why I didn't hear it. That's what happened. So really, you are responsible for this, because you called up and said, yeah. And I had an online community at that time that I was interacting with while I was at work. And I said, can one of you guys pull this clip? And they did. And that's when I heard Anthony saying, yeah, because we know all the best doctors are in Tennessee, which was great. And, I mean, why wouldn't you say that? And that was it. So, yeah, it was really, this is you, because if you hadn't called me and said that, I never would have known about it. And we'd just be living our lives, you know, in a different way.
Yep.
So anyway.
I can't believe people pay for this. But I'm thankful for it. I really am.
I don't know. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're helping Tacey retire.
Well, Tacey is retired, but it sure does help.
Yeah, it really does. Thank you. Now, if we could just get some WATP type numbers, we can get on YouTube and ask for super chats like Stuttering John does.
God.
I have a new screen name for that. I can't say any more about it. But we're going to be at WATP Live. And when I say we, I mean I, because Stacey won't be there for this one. WATP Live livestream.com. Check it out. If you come say howdy do, I'll buy you a beer as long as, you're allowed to drink. You don't have a problem with alcohol and you're old enough to drink. Otherwise, hearty handshake is in your future. But I will buy you a beer. Come over and just hang out. This thing is a hangout. It's fun. They do the show. The show's 2 hours long, and it goes by like it's 15 minutes. It's a blast. It's very interactive. Everybody has a good time. And then there will be a comedy show that night with Shuli Agar and Vinnie Paulino. Now, people will go, Shuli, that guy from Howard Stern? Tell the people how he did when he did the show for us.
I mean, he's phenomenal. He was hilarious. He was so good.
Standing ovation.
Yes.
Until he left the stage.
Yeah.
They wouldn't stop.
He knew his audience. He knew who he was talking to, and he did great.
Yeah. Yeah, so I when I see on Reddit people who have never seen Shuli do his stand-up, and they're, he's, the hack and all this that pisses me off. And I will always say, listen, he did an event for us, and he did more than just comedy for us, if you remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was he was Ryan Seacrest to our American Idol of comedy. Mm-hmm. And that was such a fun event. It was standing room only. 250 people were there in a place that only was supposed to fit 125 people. And we were worried that the fire marshal was going to come in. People are still talking about it.
It was awesome.
It's the best event we ever did.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want Bobby to hear that and say, well, what am I, chopped liver? I mean, as an event, we've had excellent, amazing comedians who are friends of ours. And Bobby did the bluest set that he's ever done in the middle of rural Tennessee.
Bobby's set was so
just
blue.
To fuck with us.
And our kids were in the audience sitting next to my mother, and I was so scared to go get them. I just thought, I'm just going to leave them there.
I was sitting 2 rows behind them, and I was like, I don't know these people. Who the hell is that old lady with those 2 kids at this show?
She was so mad.
But, all the people who were horrified by the things that he said, he is such a likable, just delightful human being. You can't help but love him. They all came to meet him afterward. No one stormed out and said, I ain't never come back to see no comedy no more. They all went and lined up to meet him.
Yeah, that was fun.
God, that was great. I've never seen anything like it. Now, that's genius. You could have had somebody come up there and just do a blue set, and they would have walked the room. Mm-hmm. But not Bobby. Everybody stayed there. It was incredible. It was amazing to watch. But he did it that way. I'm convinced he did that just to fuck with you and me.
Well, he certainly did.
Yes,
he did.
So I am not saying, but I'm just saying that as an event, the Funniest Person in the Tri-Cities was an outstanding event.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So Shuli will be there. The inimitable Vincent Paulino will be there. And then I think there's another comic maybe as well. So it's going to be a great time. It's May 14th. Just, show up. And if you're listening to this afterward, you missed a great event. All right. What else you got, Tace?
I don't have anything.
Did you enjoy talking 90 Day Fiancé with Jimmy?
Yes, I did.
I felt like you guys could have gotten into some more recent stuff. And
we could have. It wasn't very organic because it was planned. But
well, we planned to have the conversation, but mm-hmm. I think we could do it again with Jim, and we'd all have, just say, let's just talk about the last season.
And most of the time, I'm like, why am I here? So then there's that.
You're here because our listeners demand it.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kim Chickens demands it. All right. You want to take some calls?
Yes, please.
All right. Oh, let's see if we have any questions. Sean or anyone else in the chat room have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, both of you. Any of you have any?
Yeah, Sean agrees. Robert Kelly is absolutely hysterical. We have all these posters on the wall. We've had some really great events. We had Jim Florentine was our first.
He was awesome.
Jim Florentine was our first because he was the one that made me want to start doing promoting comedy here. Because he was talking on O&A about, you go to these places and they make you eat off the comics menu and it's like a plain cheeseburger and they're afraid you're going to eat into their profits and all that stuff. That hurt my feelings. Because, I like Jim. We talked previously to this, and I consider him a friend. We're friendly, and we're more than acquaintances. We don't hang out, but, he knows he can call me anytime and vice versa. But it hurt my feelings. I said, I want to set them up, get them a driver, give them a per diem, give them $100 a day just, for just being here, and then put them up in a 4-star resort and had a driver and what do you want in the green room, and just took good care of them and had audiences that loved them, were starved for comedy. Mm-hmm. And that's why we did that. So Jim was first, then it was Bobby, and then we did Tim Dillon. And that we had Tim before he was Tim Dillon. You know how much he makes off his Patreon? It's published. $200,000 a month.
That's crazy.
Oh my God.
I really enjoyed my $300 though.
No, it's amazing, and he deserves every penny of it. He's brilliantly hilarious. When he came down here, he was just getting started, and Bobby said, "There's this kid, Tim Dillon. You can get him, relatively inexpensive, and he'll do great." And he did. He blew the crowd away. Then we had Vic Henley, God rest his soul.
He did also. He played to the audience too.
Well, we had an audience of people that listened to bluegrass, and they thought that this event was a bluegrass event, and it was comedy that night. And it was a packed house. It wasn't a seat left, and he blew them away. Mm-hmm. Cliff Andrews and James Bird did the backup, and they were outstanding. Mm-hmm. And so they did a great job. Poor Cliff was so nervous. And he did. And then we had Rich Voss, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
We were going to have Mark Norman down here, and then, thanks COVID. So that kind of put the kibosh on that. But we've had lots of fun with doing comedy down here. Anyway, okay, so let's take some phone calls. Let's see if anybody's got a question. Yeah, Sean says, note to self, buy Benefiber. Let me look that one up and see if that's the one that has inulin in it. It's one of them. It might be Fiber 1. Let's see. Fiber supplements with inulin. Oh, there you go. Okay. Go-Go Fiber Gummies or chicory root inulin fiber. And Phillips Fiber Good Gummies. And let me see. I'm trying to find the one that was specific. Well, I think it was Benefiber. But anyway, what you're looking for if you want to fart, if you want to pass flatus, is any fiber supplement that contains inulin. And I think you will be very pleased with the results if your goal is just to blast out your coworkers. All right? All right. Phone calls. Here we go.
Number one thing, don't take advice from some asshole on the radio.
All right. Thank you, Ron.
Hey, Dr. Steve. This is John, the retired pharmacist. First of all, thank you for the great cameo that my son bought for me for my birthday. That was
you're welcome.
Made me smile.
Thanks for the plug. If you want a cameo, just search Weird Medicine. I am dirt cheap, and I'll say fluids and secretions, and I'll say whatever you want. It's fun, and if I'm in the right mood, or one time somebody said this is for my sick cousin or something. I gave him a tour of the studio, showed him all the different autographs from different comics and stuff. It was just, I just do it for the fun. We're not definitely doing that for the money. So if you want to do a cameo, just go to Cameo and look for Weird Medicine or Dr. Steve Weird Medicine anyway.
In talking with my son, we were discussing physicians, and I was wondering what you think is the sweet spot for practice. A couple of years ago, I had prostate cancer, and talking to the surgeon, and I asked him how many he had done, and he said 9. Well, I decided that was not someone that I wanted to have be my surgeon.
Right.
And then I was thinking about even general practitioners. Is someone right out of school good, or with all the latest knowledge, or someone has been in practice for 10 years or 20 years?
Yeah.
Myself, I value being old. I value experience. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious to your thoughts.
So And Tacey, I want to get your opinion on this because you've not only experienced it as a consumer, but you've been a professional in the medical field. My thing on this is that George Foreman said that boxers, when they get older, they lose their speed, but they don't lose their power. And I think that applies to this as well. When I was right out of medical school, man, I was up to date on all the new stuff and the literature and all of that. And since then, I may be less agile in that regard, but I've got way more power than I did. I've got the benefit of 37 years of experience now, not just 3. And that makes a huge difference. So if you've got something that you require something cutting edge, you're almost always going to get someone that did a fellowship in the last few years. And I'm talking things like robotic surgery and stuff like that. Although there are older people now that can do those things. But the cutting edge people are going to be more interested in doing normally cutting edge clinical trials and things that are more academic. And then as you get into it more, you're going to focus more on the things that you're really interested in. And when I see how I interact with patients compared with some of the people that I'm just training who have been out of school for X number of years, I can really see the difference. I think that my presence is more calming because I'm more sure of myself. Now, having said that, there are some doctors that are just lazy as F that don't keep up on the medical literature.
Just like in every profession.
That's right. And so how do you weed those out? And I've got some ideas on that. Tacey, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of the newer physicians that just come out of residency, they're not taught about new medications.
Oh, because say why?
Because they are, they've cut all of the pharmaceutical representatives out of their clinics. So I mean,
you can say,
that's,
"Oh well, big pharma,
big pharma."
But tell them
and
why
I don't
this
have
matters.
to defend that anymore. But
No.
but there are, when you say cutting edge, there are new medications that really are better than the generic stuff. Not every medication, but there are, and they just don't know about it. And one time I was talking to a GI fellow, and he didn't know about a medication that I was selling that was 7 or 8 years old that truly was something that
was a standard of care.
That was, and he hadn't ever heard of it.
Yeah.
And
When I was training, they allowed drug reps in, and they taught us how to interact with them. We would ask questions, and we would do the step protocol, and make sure that the things that they were telling us jibed with the data. And I thought that was very instructive. We get the package insert. If you get the package insert, it's got all the data in there. They won't spoon feed it to you, but you can calculate the number needed to treat, the number needed to harm, all that stuff from the data that's in the package insert. If you never let reps in, you won't know about those drugs, and you won't know how to interact with them in the real world. And I do think it's to their detriment. I disagree with not letting reps in.
Well, I mean, it would be different if physicians had time to sit down and learn about new medications themselves.
Yeah.
And they just don't.
Well, so is it okay? The journals that we get are full of ads. All of that stuff there's ads. Is that okay? Well, if that's okay, why isn't it okay to have somebody come in and talk to you? And the thing I always found about drug reps, of course, I'm married. I'm married one, so I am biased. But I interacted with drug reps in a certain way long before I met Tacey. And one of the things that you can do is if you have a question that's not in the package insert, you can ask them, and they get their research people to send you the research that they can't talk about in the package because you got to sell according to
because a good rep, and there are bad reps, but a good rep doesn't speak off label.
Right.
And we are, or I was told, because I am retired, things that we were not allowed to discuss, and everything had to be on label. Everything had to go through medical regulations, and
By law.
And
I mean, if the FDA
yes.
finds out that you're selling off label,
it's drug rep, Jill.
yeah.
I mean, you get in big trouble over that. Big
the
trouble.
company will get in big trouble
And
too.
but a lot of people do believe that physicians are paid for medications that they prescribe,
I
and
wish.
that's absolutely not true. I got in an
Big-
argument.
Oh wait, sorry.
I learned
Big pharma man.
I learned a lesson not to argue with people on Facebook, and they were talking about
Yeah,
how
that never goes well.
Yeah, it doesn't. And they were talking about how everybody knew that physicians got paid for the prescriptions that they write. And that's just isn't true. You know who gets paid for the prescriptions that get written is the rep.
Right.
And that's how it works.
And if you marry the rep, then you're
Then
benefiting.
yeah, but it has to go down like that.
Right.
And then it looks kind of funny to patients. A lot of physicians feel like when lunch is being delivered, but a lot of times, these lunches are cheap. They're not anything worth writing home about.
Right.
Because there are laws as to how much you can pay per person, and then there are budgets and things like that.
The lunches are just there for access.
They're just there for access because physicians are so busy. They absolutely do not have time to talk to representatives in between patients.
Yeah.
And so that just gives you, lunchtime usually gives you 5 minutes, if that, with a physician just to...
Yeah, if they even come back. I know that you used to say that, you would feed a whole office of 30 people and the physician didn't even come back.
Yeah, and so, I again, I don't have to defend this anymore.
No.
But this is just kind of
Well, there are myths. There's some stuff that isn't great about
Yeah.
the way that we make and promote and sell drugs in this country, but the myths that are around that part of it are nuts.
Well, the myths were true in the 70s and the 80s. Things were different. Their ethics were totally different. And
Do you think physicians ever got? Well, I'm sure that there were some kickbacks at some point.
not kickbacks, but things that really shouldn't have happened, like Christmas tree giveaways.
Yeah,
and
golf trips
and things like that. But that's
quote
over
unquote
and
CME
and done. And there's
continuing medical education trips in Las Vegas, where you were really just learning about the odds of playing the pass line at craps.
They should have been.
That stuff doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. They should have been on Big Pharma 30 years ago.
Right.
Not now. Now it's so regimented.
Yeah.
That and most of the time when a patient is sitting and sees a rep go back, that rep's standing in the hallway waiting just to grab a signature.
Yeah.
And to spend 5 seconds with a physician to leave medication.
Yeah. I'm. This may be boring to some people. So
I'm sorry.
No, not you. It's just what I'm getting ready to say. Back in my old office, I just had an open door policy, and you would remember this. And I would just walk out of an exam room. There'd be a rep standing there because I just, I was. They're doing a job, and I was doing a job, and I just thought that we were sort of, colleagues and all of this stuff. And every once in a while, I'd get out and say, "Listen, I'm behind. I don't have time to do anything. Just let me sign." And then other times, I'd talk to them. And then every once in a while, one of them would say, "Oh, by the way, I'm selling Amway."
See, now that is so bad.
That was bad. And you know exactly who I'm talking
Yes,
about.
I do.
So anyway, all right. Well, it ain't like that anymore. And matter of fact, most places don't allow drug reps in anymore, so it's a shrinking thing. And
it's a dying business.
We'll just have to figure
I
out a new
believe.
way to learn about new drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some journals that only talk about new drugs that have hit the market and the risk benefits and alternatives, and so we do use those. But anyway.
But like you said, there are a lot of lazy physicians who just don't.
Right. So that was his question: was youth or experience, and the answer is word of mouth.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
So I have a relatively young physician. He's been out 4 or 5 years. The dude is hitting his stride. He's awesome. He's on top of stuff. I love it. There are some doctors that I personally trained back in the day that I would not tell anybody to go to. And I'm not naming any names, but if they're listening, maybe they know who they are. But they've just, they've let their office staff get out of hand, and they're being mean to people, and they're not paying attention to what the patient really needs. And so it's just got to be word of mouth. That's it. You want someone with some experience that is dedicated to the art and science of medicine, someone that's interested in taking care of patients and being an advocate for them and has their well-being at heart. You don't want somebody that went into it for money.
Someone that's not condescending.
Yes, and if you go in and you just don't click, you can vote with your wallet. Just go somewhere else.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
fine. It's totally fine. Mm-hmm. Doctor shopping only matters if you're doctor shopping because this person wouldn't give you Lortab and you want to see if this other person will. That can be an issue. And even that's something we could talk about. I do think that people are being undertreated for pain. But anyway.
Because they're scared.
Because they're scared, right. That's a topic of a whole nother. If someone wants to call in and if you're a chronic pain patient, and you want us to wax eloquent on why things are the way they are, this is something I give lectures to national and state bodies all the time, so we could talk about it. All right. Okay. We did. Let's do this one. Oops. Here we go.
Hey, Dr. Steve. This is
Hey,
Adam
Dr.
from
Steve.
Nebraska.
This is Alan from Fargo, North Dakota.
Uh-oh.
Got a question for you regarding blood tests
How are you?
resulting from a keto diet.
Great.
I'm currently
Glad to hear.
44 years old,
was just
sitting right around
calling to
175.
Say thanks.
And good shape,
I
decent
listened to your
shape.
show
A couple
of
years
shows
ago, I was a little
Okay.
closer to 245.
Let me start this
everything.
over. I'll just.
And long story short, went
We're
on the
25,
keto diet, more
28. Will you
specifically
write
that
that down?
I'll
NFNG
text
diet.
it to you.
I think you had Vinnie Torberch on a number of years ago. Works great. Lost weight, feeling better, looking better. Off blood pressure medication. Was off cholesterol medication until my last physical. But so all in all, my health has improved. On my physical last year and following up this year, two things were low. First off, I was slightly low in hemoglobin and also slightly low in leukocytes, however you pronounce that, which is both we're looking at red blood
I can't
numbers
find where
as
that's
well as
coming
white
from.
blood count numbers. Those are the only two out of everything that was low. That was last year. This
Okay, let's try that again. Sorry, everybody.
I texted it to you.
Okay. All right. I couldn't stop it. Crazy. All right. Where was that voicemail? Okay. Try that again. Okay. Here we go. All right. Let's try this call.
Hey, Dr. Steve. This is Alan from Fargo, North Dakota.
Hey, Alan.
Got a question for you regarding blood tests resulting from a keto diet.
Okay.
I'm currently 44 years old, sitting right around 175, and good shape, decent shape. A couple years ago, I was a little closer to 245, same height and everything. And long story short, went on the keto diet, more specifically that NFNG diet. I think you had Vinnie Torberch on a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Works great. Lost weight, feeling better, looking better. Off blood pressure medication. Was off cholesterol medication until my last physical. But so all in all, my health has improved. On my physical last year and following up this year, two things were low. First off, I was slightly low in hemoglobin and also slightly low in leukocytes, however you pronounce that.
Leukocytes, yeah, you got it.
Which is both we're looking at red blood numbers as well as white blood count numbers. Those are the only two out of everything that was low. That was last year. This year, same story. Hemoglobin low, leukocytes low, and then also the new one was granulocyte.
Yeah,
or
right.
granulocytes, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, that's a form of.
So we look
white
like we
blood
had some
cell.
reduction in white blood cells.
Yep.
Now, of course, using Dr. Google, I've come across some references in keto forums and so forth that mention that keto diets, because eliminating carbs reduces inflammation, therefore your body would reduce white blood cells in response to this. So my question to you is this BS or not? and really kind of curious. There's a lot of it out there. But then the other one too is lower hemoglobin. Is that the sign of anemia, and could that be caused by the diet itself, or more so the vitamin deficiencies associated with the diet?
Right.
Anyway, love you, love the show. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, man. Hey, thanks. So he has low hemoglobin and low white blood cell count, and he's wondering if the keto diet, low-carb diet, is responsible for this. I almost like the decreased inflammation answer, so that if we have this sort of tonic inflammation because of things we eat, that if we take away some of those things, that white blood cell count will be low or will be decreased. That's an interesting answer. I cannot find any scientific, journal-based peer review evidence of that. What I do know is that if you've got low white count and low hemoglobin, there may be an issue going on. And low hemoglobin would be a sign of possibly low iron. Why would you have that if you're on a ketogenic diet? These people, if he's eating red meat particularly. So he's getting, and green leafy vegetables, which is, should be what you're taking on your ketogenic diet, is lots of green leafy vegetables and some lean animal protein. That's one of them anyway. And so if you're doing that, I don't see why you would have a low hemoglobin. So I think that bears investigation. One thing that people our age can have is just a GI bleed. You could have, and when I say GI bleed, bleeding in the gastrointestinal tract, could be in your stomach, could be in your colon. Some people have just a little thing called an arteriovenous malformation, which is an abnormal blood cell in the colon that just leaks blood from time to time. And if you do that over a period of years and you can't replace it fast enough, you'll end up with a low hemoglobin and maybe a low red, and most likely a low red blood cell count as well. We call that the hematocrit. So the hematocrit, in the old days, you would take blood and you would put it in a tube and spin it down. And then you would measure the height of the fluid that was left in the tube, and half of it is clear, sort of straw-colored fluid, and then half of it is packed red blood cells in the bottom. And then if it was 50% red blood cells and 50% fluid, or clear fluid above it, you would say your hematocrit was 50%. And if it was lower than that, then it was whatever. It's 47%. So about 45% is normal. And so if that's decreased and your hemoglobin is decreased, then I would do some blood work on you. I would do a stool for occult blood to see if there's blood in your stool. And there are other tests that you can do with low hemoglobin. So I would do iron studies and those kinds of things. The low white blood count, I would see, it depends on how low it is. If it's consistently low, hematologists see this stuff all the time. I talked to my hematologist the other day about a friend of ours that has low white blood cells. And he said it's no emergency. We see them all the time. Most of the time it's nothing. But I think it's worth working up to make sure that they're not missing something. So I don't know that I can blame it on the ketogenic diet, but something is obviously going on. May not be anything serious, but it's worth exploring. Okay? So call your doc, and then call back and let us know.
Yeah.
All right. Okie doke. All right. You want to get out of here?
Is it time?
I don't know. We've done 32 minutes. You want to do another one? Let's do another one.
Yeah, let's do another one.
Okay. Tacy says we're going to do another one, so this is her thing.
People are paying for this.
I know. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Hey, man, can you talk about PTSD?
Sure.
The causes, the online assessments, and where in the hell I can find a properly trained therapist to treat my moderately severe PTSD.
Yes.
Most therapists jump on this or that and never properly diagnose it. It's not that hard to diagnose, but impossible to treat without a diagnosis. And I would like to find some help.
Yeah.
And I don't think most therapists are that well trained on it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.
Well, I think I had PTSD myself, so I understand this, and I empathize.
I've got it too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you have two people here who are empathetic to your problem.
Exactly.
And
it's terrible.
It is terrible, and it's caused from exposure to real or threatened serious injury, or it could be sexual assault, anything like that. They arise from complex interactions inside your brain. So there's all these different scripts that are firing just constantly. And studies have found that, there are changes in the brain. Hippocampus, the anterior cingulate, all these different little places in the brain have altered function in people who have PTSD. So it's not bullshit. It's real. Symptoms would include rumination, where people constantly think about the event or things surrounding the event or things like the event.
Yes.
So you have these intrusive thoughts. We talked about that last show with Jim Norton about memory loss. So these people sometimes will experience what they feel is memory loss, and what it is their short-term scratch pad memory keeps getting erased by these thoughts that intrude regarding the traumatic event or events. They could have nightmares, persistent involuntary memories, which really kind of feeds into that intrusive rumination thing, flashbacks, and then emotional and psychological reactions to either triggers or just in general. They just can be very emotional and have these sort of outbursts. And then they'll try to avoid anything that's a trigger. And sometimes if the trigger is environmental, you end up avoiding everything. You end up being agoraphobic. Mm-hmm. So you end up in the house.
And it can happen. I mean, mine happened because we were in that really bad rainstorm and I couldn't see to drive.
Yeah.
And now driving in the rain terrifies me. So anything can
and
cause
I remember
it.
that was scary AF. I think we went through a tornado, actually. On a mountain road with cliff on one side, and everything just went black all of a sudden. But I do think that your PTSD probably stems from some deeper, earlier stuff too, and that just gave you something to hook onto,
Mm-hmm.
But you really have to be diagnosed by someone that knows what the F they're doing, so they're going to look for causation. And that they're going to look that that you're consistently re-experiencing the event or events, and that you're doing avoidance. So, Tacey, you can speak to that. You avoided driving in the rain.
Watch the weather like you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
Just
and then
worried about it.
And negative alterations in cognition, which goes back to the memory thing, and mood. And so, you could have persistent negative emotional states, things like that. And then hyperarousal, where you're just vigilant. Is this thing going to happen? Tacey was checking the weather just obsessively anytime that she knew that she had to drive. So, some people have PTSD that's related to way more traumatic events. But when you have it, it doesn't matter to you how traumatic the event was. The symptoms are the same. So what I would do in a situation like that, and what I did do in my situation, which goes back much farther back, is seek counseling from someone that is a cognitive behavioral therapist. And if they advertise that they treat PTSD, try one of those. But you want cognitive behavioral therapy, because it's quicker. It's not Freudian. You're not lying on the couch talking about your mother for 8 hours. You are basically doing therapy that helps to change the internal scripts in your brain. And it can be quick, sometimes 6 weeks. For me, 15 years, but I had some deep-seated shit going on. But therapy with a cognitive behavioral therapist, to me, always feels very kind of concrete, that you're solving problems and you're moving forward. So Anyway, that's what I would do. What do you think?
What do you think about medication?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, your eventual goal wants to be to go back to normal without medication.
Exactly.
Not everybody can do that, but that should be a goal. If your symptoms are so severe that you can't work or you can't have... Uh-oh, I'm going to have to get this. If he calls me twice. Hang on a second. Hold that thought, everybody. Okay, we're back. Sorry. That was my boss. Let me see. Okay, hang on. Or it is affecting your relationships with people in a negative way. It's not going to be a positive way if you have PTSD. Then you need to seek help. And then those are the people that, if it's so extreme that medication could help get things calmed down so that their body can understand that these reactions aren't going to kill them. Once you kind of, particularly if this manifests as panic attacks, if you continue to expose yourself to those triggers rather than avoiding them, eventually your body realizes you're not going to die, and the power of that reaction is diminished, and you start to get better. I'm not going to say that my anxiety is completely gone, but I was disabled when it happened. And I had zero quality of life. But the one thing I don't see myself as being a particularly strong person, but I never allowed it to stop me from going to work or going to things that my friends wanted to go to, even though I was so unbelievably uncomfortable at those places.
Yeah.
I just wanted to scream at everybody. You're not safe. You're not, you're treading on the footsteps where murderers have treaded, and, just crazy stuff. But and then with counseling and continually exposing myself to those triggers that made me very uncomfortable, it went away. I've told you the story about the day that I got better. And I don't know if I've told the story to this audience, but my problem was being in crowds, and the triggering incident doesn't matter, but it was, my life was basically being threatened. And so that bubble of safety was gone. I didn't, that illusion that we have that we're safe and we're going to live forever was completely diminished. And so I had trouble being in crowds. I didn't like being in public, but I forced myself, like I said, to do stuff. And one of the things that I really liked was, and I still do like, is fireworks. And the last night of the North Carolina State Fair in Raleigh, North Carolina, I knew that they hadn't fired off the fireworks for the last 3 nights because it rained. So they were going to fire all of them at once. I'm like, I'm not going to miss that. So I went, and with I can't remember if it was, she was my wife at the time. With my wife at the time, and she knew about my problem. And after they shot off all the fireworks at once, it was the most amazing finale I've ever seen. And then when we went out, it was 10,000 people all trying to go out of one door. And I was going, oh, shit. And so we were shoulder to shoulder, chest to back, just crammed like sardines, not moving, because, when you've got all these people trying to go out of the door of one gate, it was a big gate, it's going to take forever. And she looked at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm going to have to be," because I didn't have any choice at that moment. I either had to die or just get better, because this was the most extreme trigger that I could have had. was being in this giant crowd of God knows who. And after that, it started getting better. I mean, I could tell. From that day, it didn't just disappear, but it started to decline. And the more that it declined, the faster it declined, because I realized it didn't have any power over me anymore. So you can get better, and I want you to get better. And I get help from someone that knows what they're doing, and that's going to be a cognitive behavioral therapist that advertises PTSD. You got anything else to say about that?
No.
Well, on that happy note, why don't
I
we
do
get
hope
on here?
he gets better. It's miserable. It just really is.
Yeah.
PTSD is terrible.
Yeah, it really is. All right. Anything from the waiting room? Let's see. Nope. Well, thank you, Sean. Thank you, BT Rex and the others. When I say the others, being hilarious, for showing up for the live stream. But we will put these up as regular shows in the next coming weeks, and we'll have some bonus content as well. Come hang out with us at WATP Live May 14th in Nashville, and we'll see you very soon. And thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tace.
Thank you, Steve.
You're a good one, I'll tell you that. You surely are.
Give yourself a bill.
Your show is better when you had medical questions. Hey!
Wow, that is very interesting. Please tell me more.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you downstairs. I'll tighten those up. Huh?
I'm going to call Elizabeth to find out what's going on.
Okay, yeah. Call your friend. See how she's doing.
And I've got to be fair to her. I'm just going to starve to death.
All right. Okay. It's just Sean now. Thanks, buddy. You're the best. I got to send you something. Well, I already have sent. Oh, no. You won the mug. Here it is. Here's your mug, and I'm shipping them today, and it's autographed by Tacey and me for what that's worth, which is nothing. So you and I'll just hang out. I'll wait to make sure you heard that, and then I'm going to close down everything. You too, man. Thanks. Oh, and I'm assuming that Sean is male, but I just ran into a Sean that spelled it that way that was female. So if all this time you're like a hot chick, I'm sorry, I've misgendered you. Oh, you know what's funny about that? That person is that they sent the resume to us because we're interviewing them for a thing, and it's a woman. And they just kept calling her Mr. So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so. And I said, by the way, Sean's pronouns are she and her. So. All right. I'll see you later.
We're Missing contains mature contents that may be offended to some listeners.
Let me
What did I do wrong then? You know, your all's house is like an oven.